The girl shouldn't have been alive. Not with the way the winter wind cut through her clothes. Not with the blood frozen dark along her wrists. Not with the look of someone who had already buried every hope she ever had. A man could see the end of a life from a mile away in the Old West. And anyone watching her stumble across that white field would have sworn the Lord himself had turned his face away. But then, she raised her head, and the world shifted. Because standing there in the snow, waiting like a man carved out of old grief and stubborn faith, was the black rancher every soul in Stillwater Ridge whispered about. A man who had no reason to help her, no reason to look twice, no reason to let her speak. Yet when her voice finally reached him, raw, shaking, almost gone, she didn't ask for food, or water, or mercy. She asked for something no dying girl should have known how to ask. And that changed everything. Before we dive into this winter tale of mercy and ruin, tell me where you're watching from. Stay with the story all the way to the end, and don't forget to subscribe for more Western tales. Arizona Territory, winter of 1879. The horse collapsed before he could reach her. 1 second she was standing, shaking, fighting for breath, and the next her legs folded clean under her like she'd been shot. Caleb Booker hit the ground beside her, dropping to his knees in the straw. No, don't you quit on me. Not tonight. Her chest barely moved. Foam gathered at the corner of her mouth. The sound coming out of her throat was wrong, wet and strangled, like something inside her had already decided the fight was over. Caleb pressed a hand to her rib cage. Too hot, too tight, too fast. Lord, he muttered through his teeth. I'm asking you straight. Don't take her. Not this one. Not on Christmas week. He didn't hear footsteps, didn't hear a door. Just a voice, small, steady, cutting through the dark like a knife. Move your hand. Caleb spun, reaching for his Colt, but the girl was already beside him, kneeling in the straw, palm on the mare's jaw, as if she'd been there the whole time. Thin, dust-covered, hair loose and tangled, eyes sharp in a way no lost traveler's eyes ought to be. She didn't look at him. She didn't ask. She only spoke again, low and certain. She can't breathe like this. Help me turn her head. Caleb froze. Who? Now, she said. And there was something in that now, not begging, not disrespect, just urgency, so real it shoved past every question stacked in his skull. He shifted the mare's head. The girl pressed her ear to the horse's muzzle. A beat. Another. She's drowning inside, the girl whispered. If you leave her like this, she dies. Caleb's jaw locked. You don't walk into a man's barn and... You want her to live? She cut in. Then listen. The mare, convulsed, wheezing hard enough that Caleb felt it in his own chest. He swallowed whatever curse was rising and nodded once. 5 minutes, he said. That's all you get. The girl reached into a worn buckskin pouch tied at her hip. Not a weapon, nothing metal, just herbs wrapped in cloth and a small piece of hide marked with stains and symbols he didn't recognize. She checked the mare's gums, lifted her lip, touched under her jaw with the back of her fingers, not guessing, not hoping, knowing. "Fever's been building for days," she said. "She hid it from you. Some horses do that." Caleb stiffened. "You sayin' I don't know my own herd?" "I'm saying she's dying." She tore open the herb wrap, crushed the mixture in her palms, and rubbed it under the mare's jawline. Quick, practiced motions, no hesitation. "Where'd you learn that?" Caleb demanded. The girl didn't answer. "Hold her steady." He did. For reasons he couldn't explain, not even to himself. Something about her hands, something about how they didn't shake. Caleb had seen fear, lived in it, worked under it. This girl wasn't afraid. She was used to running on empty. The mare took a rough, shuddering breath, then another, then one that sounded less like dying and more like fighting. Caleb let out a slow breath he didn't know he'd been holding. "What's your name?" "Tala," she said. "Tala Noyan." "You Apache?" "Yes." That one word hung between them like a loaded rifle. The kind of word Stillwater Ridge didn't forgive a man for having too close to his home. Certainly not a black rancher already one wrong step away from trouble. Caleb's hand tightened on the mare's neck. "Why here? Why my barn?" Tala didn't answer him. She reached again into her pouch and pulled out the folded scrap of hide. "This," she said quietly, "is why." She didn't unfold it, didn't show him, just held it for a heartbeat, then tucked it back out of sight. "If your horse lives till sunrise," Tala said, voice soft but steady, "I'll tell you what it is." Caleb stared at her, at the dirt under her nails, the torn edge of her wrap, the exhaustion sitting so deep in her bones, it looked permanent. He should have thrown her out. His father would have. Most men would have. But the mare's breathing eased again, just barely, and that tiny sound of relief was louder to him than every warning bell in his head. Caleb swallowed. "You've got till morning," he said. "After that, we talk." Tala nodded once, the smallest flicker of relief crossing her face. Outside, the wind pushed hard against the old stable walls. Inside, for the first time in a long time, something pushed back. Tala didn't rest. Not for a second. While the mare struggled for each breath, she moved around her with the quiet certainty of someone who had lived too long beside dying things. Caleb fetched water, tore cloth, did whatever she told him, though every order hit his pride the wrong way. "Lift her again," Tala said. Caleb slid his hands under the mare's jaw, raising her head as sweat rolled down his temples. "You better know what you're doing." "If I didn't," Tala murmured, "she'd already be gone." A sharp answer rose in his throat, but the mare wheezed again, and the words died before they reached his tongue. Tala dipped the cloth in the hot water Madame Liane had left warming by the hearth, wrung it tight, and pressed it along the mare's windpipe. She didn't flinch at the heat or the steam. She didn't look scared. She only focused. "How long she been sick?" she asked. Didn't look sick till tonight. Some hide their pain, horses, and people. Caleb frowned at her tone. Meanin' something by that? She didn't answer. Her hands kept working. From the corner of his eye, he saw Madame Lianjiang shuffle into the doorway, tied apron and all, hair wrapped in a quick knot she must have thrown together on her way down the hall. "Mr. Booker," she said softly, "I heard kettle. You need more water?" "Please, ma'am," Tala said before Caleb could speak. Madame Lien raised a brow, just one, but she didn't ask questions. She vanished and returned with 2 buckets, steam drifting off them in the cold. "Girl knows what she's doing," she muttered as she passed. "Don't be stubborn, Mr. Booker. Pride don't keep animals alive." Caleb clenched his jaw. "Nobody asked you to weigh in." "Nobody needs to," Madame Lien said, then walked out. Tala hid a small, tired smile, barely there, 1 heartbeat long. Then she reached for the herbs again, crushing a darker mixture between her palms. "You treat a lot of sick horses?" Caleb asked. "Yes." "Where?" She didn't look up. "Everywhere." "That ain't an answer." "It's the only one I have." The mare jerked suddenly, body seizing. Caleb moved instinctively, pinning her shoulder with his weight. "Tala," he barked. "She's going under." "Hold her. Keep talking to her." He leaned close to the mare's ear, whispering rough comfort. "Easy, girl. Stay with me. I got you. I got you." Tala slid her fingers under the jawline again. Heat's rising. Means the herbs are pushing the illness out. She's fighting. She's losing. "No," Tala said firmly. "Not yet." Her certainty struck him, hard, unexpected. For a moment he forgot she was a stranger, forgot the danger she brought by simply breathing inside his walls. He only knew this: she cared whether the mare lived, and that meant something. Tala pressed the last of the mixture onto the mare's throat, then wiped her hands on chanson, the hem of her wrap. "She needs air, fresh. It's freezing outside." "Yes, that's why she needs it." Caleb hesitated. Moving the mare in her state could break her, but the stable air had grown thick and hot with sickness. "Fine," he said. "On 3. Don't drop her head." They lifted together, Tala guiding the jaw, Caleb supporting the heavier weight. Outside, the night slapped them with a cold so sharp it stole their breath. The mare inhaled once, then again, deeper. Her legs twitched, steadied, settled. Caleb felt it, felt the shift, like the first warm gust before a storm breaks. Tala exhaled, shoulders sagging for the first time. "She'll make it till dawn." "You sure?" "No." Tala looked up at him. "But she has a chance. And tonight, so do you." That last part hit him square, though he didn't know why. Caleb swallowed. "You said you'd explain if she lived through the night." "I will." "When?" "When the sun comes." Caleb wiped his hands on his jeans, suddenly aware of how close she stood. "And where you plan on sleeping till then?" "I don't plan on sleeping." That ain't an option. For me, she said quietly, it is. She stepped past him, toward the corner of the stable, where she settled on the straw floor with her back to the wall, wrapping her thin shawl tighter around her shoulders. Caleb stared at her a long, conflicted moment. You can take the cot in the feed room, he said. Tala shook her head. I stay with her. You'll freeze. I've frozen before. Her voice held no drama, no angle, no bid for pity. Just truth, plain as a hammer. Caleb looked at the mare, breathing steadier now, chest rising smoother. He looked back at the girl, small, cold, stubborn as a tree root. Why'd you really come here? He asked again. Tala's eyes lifted, dark and unreadable. Because someone is trying to take something from me. And you brought it to my ranch? I brought it, she whispered, touching the pouch at her hip. To the only place I thought it might stay alive. That was not the answer he expected. Not the danger he expected. Not the promise either. A long quiet stretched between them, heavy as snow. Then the mare exhaled, a slow, calmer sound, and Tala leaned her head back against the wall, eyes closing, but body still tense, as if ready to run at the smallest noise. Caleb didn't know what sunrise would bring, but he knew this. Whatever this girl carried, whatever hunted her, had just stepped into his life and wasn't planning to leave. Caleb hitched his wagon before the sun had fully climbed over Stillwater Ridge. The mare was holding steady, weak but steady, and Tala hadn't slept a wink. She was still sitting in the same corner of the stable when he left, knees pulled close, hand resting lightly on the horse's neck, as if her touch alone kept death at bay. You stay put, Caleb told her quietly. Tala didn't open her eyes. I stay. He stepped out into the bitter morning and rode toward town with a list of supplies tight in his fist. Fever herbs, clean rags, turpentine, extra bedding, and maybe, if the Lord felt merciful, a little luck. Stillwater Ridge wasn't big, but it had eyes everywhere. Eyes that didn't blink much when it came to watching a man like him. Caleb walked into Whitman's general store, and the bell above the door gave a sharp, judgmental ring. 3 heads turned before he took 10 steps inside. Martha Caldwell, wrapped in her thick church shawl, froze when she saw him. Morning, Mr. Booker, she said, voice polite enough to pass for kindness, if a man didn't know her better. Mornin', Mrs. Caldwell. Her gaze dropped to the list in his hand. Stocking up? Trouble with your herd? Just need a few things. You always do. Her eyes narrowed a little. Heard you had company last night. Caleb didn't flinch. You hear a lot. I hear enough. She stepped closer, lowering her voice. A rider said he saw a girl going toward your place. Dark hair, small, wrapped in deerskin. Sound familiar? He didn't answer. That was answer enough. Martha clicked her tongue. Mr. Booker, you know how folks get. This town's been on edge. About what? About everything, she said. Indians, outlaws, fever, Christmas comin' without enough provisions, and men bringin' trouble onto their own land. Caleb's jaw tightened. She came in the dark. I didn't invite her. But you let her stay. He didn't say yes, didn't say no. He set his list on the counter. Harlan Whitman squinted at it. You treatin' someone sick? Or something sick? Caleb kept his voice even. A horse. Martha sniffed. Thought so. Heard one of your mares was down. Caleb didn't know how they always knew. Stillwater Ridge had a way of sniffing out weakness like wolves around a dying calf. I'll take what's on the list, he said. Harlan bagged the herbs slow, like each pinch of dried leaf was coming out of his personal wages. He paused halfway through. Turpentine too? Yes. Funny, Harlan murmured. That's what they use for other kinds of infections too. Martha's eyes sharpened. You're sure it's just a horse, Mr. Booker? Caleb felt heat crawl up his spine. I know my ranch. I'm not questioning your ranch, she said. I'm questioning your choices. He grabbed the sack from Harlan's hands. My choices ain't up for discussion. That, Martha said softly, is where you're wrong. Every choice you make becomes this town's business sooner or later. Caleb moved past her. Your concerns noted. It's not concern, she called after him. It's warning. He didn't turn around. Outside, Eddie Ray, barely 14, all elbows and nerves, appeared at Caleb's stirrup. Mr. Booker, sir? Eddie swallowed hard. There's a man asking about you. What kind of man? Don't know. Coat's too clean, boots too new. Looks like he don't belong here. Caleb felt something shift inside. Where is he? Talking to Orville Van by the water trough, Eddie said. They keep looking this way. Caleb followed Eddie's flicked glance and saw them. Orville, the loudest gossip in town, and a stranger with his hat tilted low, one hand resting too easy near his hip. Not good. Not now. Caleb mounted his wagon. Eddie, he said, you see that man come up the road toward my ranch. You ride straight to me. Don't stop for nobody. Yes, sir. Eddie backed up a step. Mr. Booker? Yeah? That girl you got hidden up there. Eddie hesitated. They ain't gonna be gentle. Caleb didn't answer. He drove the wagon hard out of town, every mile feeling heavier than the one before. The sack of supplies bounced at his feet. The mare was waiting. So was Tala. And so was whatever trouble had followed her in the dark. By the time Booker Creek Ranch came into view, Caleb knew two things for certain. 1. Stillwater Ridge was already building a story about him. 2. Stories like that had a way of killing a man long before the truth showed up. He tightened his grip on the reins. Sunrise had never felt so close or so dangerous. Caleb pushed the door open with his shoulder, arms full of supplies. The stable was warmer now, lantern lit, steam rising from the fresh cloths Tala had heated over the small iron stove. She hadn't moved far from the mare, hadn't eaten, hadn't slept. Her eyes flicked up when he entered, sharp, assessing. The same look she'd given his horse before deciding whether the creature would live or die. You were gone long, she said. Town's nosy. They saw you buy herbs? They saw everything. Tala didn't speak for a moment, fingers resting lightly at the mare's jaw. They'll come here, she said. Caleb dropped the sack on the table harder than he meant to. Let them. They don't run my ranch. They run fear, Tala answered. Fear makes men brave in the wrong direction. He hated how true that sounded. Caleb unpacked the herbs, the rags, the turpentine, lining them up the way Madame Lien taught him years ago. Straight, orderly, something to control when everything else refused to be handled. He handed Tala the new cloths. You can use these, they're clean. She took them, but her gaze didn't leave his face. I need to know the rules of your house. Caleb frowned. Rules? Yes. Her tone was steady. If I stay here tonight, you tell me what is allowed and what is not. He stared at her, trying to read her meaning. She met his confusion with a calm stubbornness that didn't blink. I don't touch your guns, she said first. I don't walk into your home without permission. I don't speak to your people unless you say so. A beat. But you don't open this. She touched the pouch at her hip. Caleb crossed his arms. That thing again. Yes. Silence. It stays with me. Fine, he said. I don't want whatever trouble's inside it anyway. Tala seemed to consider that for a moment. And you won't tell anyone who I am. I don't know who you are. That's why I said don't tell. For a half second, her mouth twitched. Not a smile. Just a sign she wasn't made entirely of iron. Caleb set the supplies down. Look, you saved my mare. You've earned a place under this roof till sunrise. After that, we talk. Talk about what? Why you're here. What you're running from. Why a stranger shows up knowing more about my herd than I do. Tala's expression didn't change, but something behind it tightened, like she'd braced against a coming blow long before he asked the question. Sunrise, she repeated. I'll answer you then. He didn't push further, not because he trusted her, but because pushing didn't feel like the right move. Not with a girl who'd held death away from his horse with nothing but herbs, grit, and a whisper. Madame Lien appeared in the doorway, arms crossed over her night shawl. Mr. Booker, she said, voice clipped. Food is on the stove. Eat before you shoon. Drop. I'm fine, Caleb said. You're not, she replied. And neither is that girl. Tala sat straighter. I don't need anything. Madame Lien stepped closer, one brow raised. Not what I asked. Food helps. Pride doesn't. Tala held her gaze with the wary respect of someone who didn't underestimate older women. Thank you, she said quietly. Madame Lien nodded once, then turned to Caleb. Town's awake early. Saw lights moving on the ridge. Caleb stiffened. Men? I didn't get close enough to count, but if I had business near a ranch at dawn, it wouldn't be friendly. Tala's hand drifted to her pouch. Not fear, instinct. Caleb caught it. You're safe here." "No one is safe anywhere," she murmured. He didn't argue. He couldn't. The mare shifted, letting out a soft, tired snort. Tala moved to soothe her, hand gentle, voice low. Caleb watched her for a moment. How focused she stayed. How much weight she carried in silence. "You're colder than a creek in January," he said. "Take the cot in the feed room. It's warm." "No," Tala said. "I stay with her." "You can't sit on a floor like that all night." "I can. I have." Her voice wasn't proud, not defensive, just honest. Caleb scrubbed a hand over his jaw. "Suit yourself." He started toward the door, then paused. "Tala." She looked at him. "You show up in the dark, know every sign of a sickness only old ranch hands know. Talk like death's been following you for miles, and you expect me not to ask questions?" "I expect you to wait," she said softly. "Till sunrise." "Yes." A cold breath of air slid in through the crack in the stable wall. Tala didn't flinch. Caleb did. He held her gaze a moment longer. "I'll be back with coffee," he muttered. She nodded once, settling beside the mare again, hand steady, posture alert, as if she expected the night itself to throw something at her. Caleb stepped outside, breath fogging in the dawn. He heard a distant sound then, hooves on frozen dirt. Too many for morning riders, too early for ranch hands. He turned his head toward the ridge. Someone was coming, and they weren't coming for him. Caleb didn't wait for the riders to reach the yard. He met them halfway, coat half buttoned, rifle slung across his shoulder, breath cutting white in the morning air. 3 men. Orville Van in the middle, sitting tall like he owned the dirt under his horse. 2 others flanking him, hands never far from their belts. "Boys," Caleb said flatly. Orville didn't smile. He never did when trouble was the goal. "Morning, Booker. Heard you had a visitor last night." Caleb's jaw ticked. "You riding out here to check my company now?" "We're checking on the safety of Stillwater Ridge," Orville said. "A man like you should appreciate that." "A man like me?" Orville shrugged. "Color don't matter for this part. Apache trouble does." Caleb stepped forward enough that Orville's horse shifted. "You got something to say it." "We had ourselves a stranger in town yesterday," Orville replied. "Asked questions the way hired guns do. Said he was looking for a girl. Young, small, hair braided. Apache. Said she was dangerous." Caleb didn't blink. "Lots of things are dangerous." "Not like this." Orville leaned in his saddle. "Man claimed she stole something. Something worth following her across half the territory." "I don't know anything about that." "You sure?" Orville's eyes narrowed. "Word is somebody saw movement near your ranch." "Then they need glasses." One of Orville's riders laughed under his breath. Caleb turned his head toward the sound, slow and cold. The laughter died. "You mind if we look around?" Orville asked. "Yes," Caleb said. That wasn't a question. It wasn't an answer either. A long beat stretched tight as wire. Then Pastor Kincaid's wagon rolled into view down the ridge road, old wheels clattering, cross-swaying from the side rail. "Gentlemen," the pastor called, pulling up. "What's all this ruckus at daybreak?" Orville straightened. "Routine check, Pastor." "Routine checks don't involve 3 men blocking a working man's gate," Pastor Kincaid said. "Christmas week or not, folks still need to earn their keep." Orville forced a thin smile. "We're done here anyway." He tugged his reins, but not before giving Caleb a long, knowing look. "Booker, you see anything unusual? You better speak up. Don't let someone else pay the price for your silence." Caleb didn't respond. Didn't need to. When the riders finally turned back toward Stillwater Ridge, Pastor Kincaid exhaled. "Son," he said, settling his hat, "you want to tell me what that was about?" "No." "Caleb." "I said no, Pastor. Not right now." Kincaid studied him, steady, patient. "Is she safe?" Caleb's head snapped up. "Who?" "The girl the Lord put in your path," the pastor said, "because he doesn't drop souls in front of you for decoration." Caleb scraped a hand over his jaw. "You know, too much. I know enough to worry." Kincaid leaned forward. "And enough to trust your judgment. But trouble's on the wind, son. You feel it." "I do." "Then keep her close." Caleb swallowed once, nodded stiffly. The pastor gave him a blessing under his breath and steered the wagon away. When Caleb got back to the stable, Tala was already standing. She'd braided her hair, face washed, shawl pulled tight over her shoulders. But her eyes, they were sharper than he'd seen them yet. "You spoke to someone," she said. "Riders came. For me? For what you're carrying." Tala's hand drifted to her pouch. "Then they're close." Caleb set the supplies down. "This man they're talking about, the one looking for you, who is he?" "Someone hired to finish what others started." "You run from him?" "I run from the people who sent him." She didn't say more. He didn't ask. Not yet. Caleb handed her fresh cloths. "Town knows you're out here." Her shoulders tightened. "Then I should leave." "No," Caleb said. Tala paused, startled by the force in his voice. "You step outside alone. You won't make it a mile," he said. "They're not looking to talk to you, Tala. They're looking to claim you. I've survived worse. You won't survive. I've men like these." She held his stare. A thin crack of something. Fear, maybe, showing under the steel. "I don't want your ranch hurt because of me." "It's already hurt," Caleb answered. "But that ain't the point." "Then what is?" "That mare's breathing because of you," he said softly. "That means something." Tala looked away, jaw clenched like she was holding a lifetime behind her teeth. "If I stay, you take on my enemies." "If you go," Caleb said, "I watch you die before sunrise." A long, cold silence settled between them. Then Tala spoke, voice barely above a whisper. "I don't want to die." "You're not gonna," Caleb replied. Not while I'm standin'. It was the first promise he'd given her, maybe the only one she believed. The mare let out a soft breath, breaking the stillness. Tala stood straighter. Then we need rules. We have rules. No, we need more. Caleb raised a brow. Like what? She tightened her grip on the pouch. Like what happens when they find us. Caleb didn't answer, because the truth was already pounding up the ridge road. Boots, hooves, dust, and every step sounded like it knew her name. The scream wasn't human. It was the kind a horse makes when the world turns to fire. Caleb dropped the bucket in his hands and ran, hard, boots pounding the dirt, before his mind could form the word flames. Smoke shot out from the cracks of the quarantine stall, thick and black, carrying the bitter scent of turpentine. "Tala!" he shouted. She was already there, throwing her shoulder against the door, coughing through the rising heat. "It's barred from the outside." "What?" Caleb grabbed the latch, hot as iron from the forge, and jerked back with a hiss. Someone had wedged a beam across the door. Deliberate. Meant to trap. The mare kicked wildly, hooves slamming wood. "She'll break her own legs," Tala cried. Caleb didn't think, didn't pause. He tore off his coat, wrapped it around his hands, and drove his boot into the beam. Once, twice, a third time. The beam cracked. Smoke billowed in his face. He kicked again, this time with every ounce of fear he refused to say out loud. The beam split, the door flew inward, and a wave of heat rolled over them so strong it staggered him. Tala didn't hesitate. She ducked into the firelit stall. "Tala!" Caleb barked. "Get back!" "No." He swore hard and followed her in. The mare's eyes rolled white. Her legs slipped in the straw, flames licking up the far wall. Tala pressed herself along the mare's neck, trying to guide her toward the door. "She can't see!" Tala shouted, voice hoarse. "You have to pull." Caleb grabbed the halter, muscles straining as the mare resisted in blind panic. Fire popped above them, showering embers. Tala shielded her face with her arm. "Caleb, hurry!" "I am." He dragged, hard. The mare stumbled, nearly falling on him. Tala shoved from behind, coughing violently as smoke filled the stall. "Move, girl!" Caleb growled through gritted teeth. "Move!" The mare lurched forward, weight crashing into him. Caleb braced, pulled, and finally, she cleared the threshold. The three of them tumbled into the cold morning air together. Tala collapsed to her knees, gasping. Caleb hauled the mare aside, slapping her flank, forcing her away from the flames. "Lien!" Caleb shouted toward the house. "Bucket line!" But Madame Lien Jiang was already running, skirts hiked up, two buckets swinging, shouting in Chinese and English at once. Hank Tolliver stormed out behind her, dragging a rain barrel. Caleb turned back toward the burning stall. "Tala!" She was on her feet, soot on her face, eyes blazing. "They lit it from the back," she rasped. 2 points. "That wasn't an accident." "I know. Then they'll come again." "I know." The fire climbed fast, licking at the roof beams. Hank threw the first bucket. Steam erupted with a hiss. Madame Lien tossed another. "Get back!" Caleb shouted. "Roof's gonna go!" Hank stumbled away. Madame Lien grabbed Tala by the arm and pulled her back just as the roof groaned, sagged, and collapsed inward in a roar of sparks. Heat filled the yard. Tala shielded her face with her arm. Caleb grabbed her other arm and dragged her farther from the blast. "You hurt?" he asked, voice rough. She shook her head, coughing hard. "You?" "Burned hands. Nothing new." They stood side by side, chests heaving as the stall burned down to a skeleton of glowing beams. Hank wiped sweat from his brow. "Mr. Booker, somebody wanted this place gone." "No," Caleb said, breath steadying with effort. "Not the place." He looked at Tala. "They wanted her." Tala didn't move, didn't blink. "What did you see?" Caleb asked. "Boot prints," she said quietly. "2 sets, one heavy, one lighter, and something else." "What?" She hesitated. "The lighter prints. I know them." Caleb's stomach dropped. "You sure?" Tala nodded once. "Someone who used to protect me. Someone who changed sides." She touched her pouch, fingers trembling at the edges. "He'll come back." Caleb stepped closer. "Who?" "My uncle," she whispered. "Chaska." Madame Lien gasped. "Family?" Tala's jaw tightened. "Blood is not always family." Caleb looked at the burned stall, the ruined beams, the surviving mare trembling near the fence. "Why would he do this?" he asked. "To finish what others paid him to start," Tala said. "They want what I carry, and they want me silent before I can give it away." Caleb's voice dropped low. "You should have told me." "You didn't ask." "I'm asking now." Tala swallowed. "If they burn this ranch to the ground, you need to know." He stepped in front of her. "Then tell me." But she didn't. Not yet. Behind them, the last beam of the stall cracked and fell, sending sparks into the cold air like dying stars. Tala stared at the flames with a hollow steadiness that scared him more than the fire itself. "They won't stop," she whispered. Caleb followed her gaze. "No," he said, "but neither will I." It wasn't a promise. It was a line drawn in smoke and ash. A line someone else was already crossing, because hoofbeats sounded on the far ridge again. Closer this time. Closer. Caleb hadn't even washed the soot off his hands when another rider crested the ridge. Not Chaska. Not the hired gun. Worse. Gideon Sloat. The man rode like he owned the sun and expected it to wait for him. Clean gloves, polished boots, smile sharp enough to cut rope. "Mr. Booker," Sloat called as he dismounted, dusting off a coat too fine for ranch country. "Terrible business this morning. Fire's a cruel friend." Caleb didn't shake his hand. "Say what you came to say." "I will." Sloat's eyes drifted to Tala, standing by the fence, soot on her face, hair falling loose from the braid. He smiled, but perhaps not in mixed company. Tala didn't move, didn't lower her stare. Caleb stepped in front of her. You speak in the open. Very well, Sloat said lightly, folding his gloves. I heard rumors, Apache girl, trouble follows, thought I'd offer help. Your help burns barns, Caleb said. Sloat chuckled. Now, Booker, I'm talking about real help, financial, political, protection for your business ventures. I run a ranch. You run Hope, Sloat corrected, voice dropping. And hope is expensive, especially when it's sick. Caleb's jaw flexed. Spit it out. Sloat's gaze slid toward Tala again. Send the girl away. No. It's simple, Mr. Booker. Folks in town are uneasy. You're a black rancher with land people want. You bring an Apache girl onto that land? That's a spark in a powder room. Town can mind its own business. Sloat stepped closer, lowering his voice. Town won't. They're frightened. Frightened men listen to me. I can calm them down. How? You get rid of the reason they're scared. Tala spoke then, voice clear. I'm not the reason. Sloat ignored her. Booker, you're a practical man. Let me help you keep what's yours. A beat. Send her away. Caleb didn't answer right away. He felt the eyes of everyone in the yard. Hank, Madame Liane, even the trembling mare, waiting for his choice. Tala took a single step forward. If I leave, he leaves, she said quietly. Your ranch survives. No, Caleb said. Caleb, she pressed. You don't know what You saved this ranch. He cut her off. You stay. Tala's breath caught. Just a flicker. A fracture in the mask she wore so well. Sloat's smile thinned. Careful, Mr. Booker. This isn't chivalry. This is suicide. You done talking? Caleb asked. Not even close, Sloat said, turning his gloves in his hands. But I'll leave you to reconsider. Man's got to weigh the cost of his attachments. He mounted his horse with a smooth, practiced swing. Oh, he added, turning back. There's a new face in town. Calls himself Vince Rourke, asking about an Apache girl with a pouch on her hip. His eyes sharpened. That pouch must hold something mighty special. Caleb stepped forward. Sloat, careful, Sloat sang, riding away. You keep choosing her, and you'll lose everything else. Dust swallowed him. Silence hit the yard. Tala exhaled, shaky but steadying. He's right about one thing. Caleb turned. What? My being here costs you. Worth it, he said. You don't know that. I know enough. She looked down at her pouch. If I stay, you take on my enemies. If I go, you take on guilt you don't deserve. Caleb shook his head. You go, you die. And you stay tied to a war that wasn't yours. Caleb took her hand, briefly, roughly, almost like he hated himself for needing the contact. Tala, I ain't throwing you to wolves. She didn't pull away, but she didn't soften either. Then you need to hear the truth, she whispered. He leaned in. Say it. She swallowed. Hard. What I carry, it's not just medicine. It's proof. Proof of a place men would kill to own. Angel Spring, my people's last clean water. Sloat wants it. Others too. Caleb's pulse kicked. And Rourke? He wants me, Tala said. Dead or silent. Before Caleb could answer, Hank rushed from the house. Mr. Booker, he shouted. Rider coming fast down the east trail. Caleb turned toward the ridge. It wasn't Sloat. Wasn't Rourke. But whoever it was, they were coming with purpose. And Caleb knew. The next choice he made wouldn't be about the ranch. It would be about who he was willing to become. The rider didn't slow down. He tore across the east trail, cutting a straight line toward the ranch like a bullet with a heartbeat. Caleb grabbed his rifle and stepped in front of Tala without thinking. Stay behind me. I can fight, Tala said. Not this. The rider yanked his horse to a stop so hard the animal reared. Dust flew. A man jumped down, coat dusty, hat pulled low, gun already in hand. Vince Rourke. Tala sucked in a breath like she'd been kicked. Rourke's gaze snapped to her. Cold. Calculating. Hungry for something that wasn't her face. There you are, he said. Caleb leveled his rifle. You're trespassing. I'm collectin', Rourke replied. She's coming with me. No, Caleb said. Rourke didn't look at him. Didn't have to. His hand lifted, and 3 more riders emerged from the ridge behind him. I don't need permission, Rourke said. Just the girl. Tala stepped out from behind Caleb before he could stop her. You want this? She touched the pouch at her hip. Rourke's eyes locked on it like a dog scenting meat. Smart girl. Caleb moved again, blocking her. You're not taken either. Rourke tilted his head. Booker, you're a brave man. Brave gets people killed. He flicked his fingers. 2 of his riders lunged. Tala bolted. Not away toward the corral, dodging between fence rails, small enough to slip where horses couldn't. One rider grabbed for her braid. She twisted, drove her elbow into his ribs, kept running. Tala! Caleb shouted. Rourke fired a warning shot at Caleb's feet. Stay. Caleb didn't. He charged the closest rider, slammed the man off his saddle, and wrestled him into the dirt. A fist, a knee, a grunt. Caleb hit until the man stopped moving. Tala! He yelled again. He didn't see her. He heard her. A cry, short, cut off. Caleb's head snapped toward the barn. Rourke had her pinned against the wall, forearm across her throat, gun pressed to her jaw. Easy now, Rourke said. We all stay calm. Caleb raised his rifle an inch. Lower it, Rourke warned. I only need her alive long enough to get what she's carrying. After that, well, he smiled. Doesn't matter. Tala struggled, teeth clenched. You'll get nothing. Rourke grabbed her pouch. She lashed out, biting his wrist. He cursed, slammed her hard into the wall. Her breath knocked out in one painful burst. Tala! Caleb roared, taking a step. But then another sound, Hoofbeats from the ridge, slow, measured, familiar. Caleb's blood ran cold. A tall figure rode into view, braids down his back, coat patched with tribal beadwork, expression carved in stone. Chaska Noyan. Tala froze. "No," she whispered. "No." Chaska slid off his horse without taking his eyes off her. "Niece." Tala's knees nearly buckled. You gave me to them." Chaska didn't flinch. "I gave you a chance at peace. You sold me." "Peace is never free," Chaska said simply. Rourke pushed Tala toward him. "You said you'd handle her." "I will," Chaska replied. "Once I have what she carries." Caleb aimed the rifle at Chaska. "You laid fire to my barn." Chaska nodded once. "You sheltered what wasn't yours." "She's not yours either," Caleb said. Something flickered in Chaska's eyes. "She is my blood." Tala shook her head violently. "Blood is not family." Rourke snapped the pouch off her belt. "We'll see what's inside." "No!" Tala lunged for it. Chaska caught her arms, holding her tight. Too tight. Caleb fired. The shot cracked the morning air and ripped through Rourke's hat, missing his skull by an inch. Rourke spun. Next one kills her. Caleb didn't lower the rifle. Tala's breath trembled. "Caleb, don't." "Let her go," Caleb growled. Chaska shoved Tala behind him. "Stand down, Booker. This is not your fight." "The hell it ain't." Rourke mounted, pouch in hand. "We're done here." Caleb fired again, but Rourke ducked low. The bullet hit a fence post and sent splinters flying. The riders closed around him, shielding him as they retreated up the ridge, dragging Tala's uncle with them. Chaska holding her back with a look that promised everything except mercy. Tala collapsed to her knees as the hoofbeats faded. Caleb reached her first. "Tala!" She shoved his hands away, tears burning in her eyes but refusing to fall. "He knows where Angel Spring is. He'll lead them there. He'll kill anyone who tries to speak the truth." Caleb steadied her shoulders. "We'll stop them." "No." Tala swallowed hard. "We must expose them. If we go after them alone, we lose." Her voice broke, cracked clean through. "My uncle betrayed me. Rourke took the proof. And Sloat. Sloat owns the law." Caleb tightened his grip. "Then we make the law listen." Tala looked up at him, disbelief flickering with the faintest spark of hope. "You can't beat them," she whispered. "I ain't trying to beat them." He lifted her to her feet. "I'm gonna drag them into the light." And somewhere on the ridge, a second rider watched Caleb carry Tala inside. Not Rourke, not Chaska, someone else. Someone who had been waiting for this moment. Caleb didn't wait for the dust to settle. He saddled his horse with hands still blistered from the fire, threw on his coat, and jerked his rifle into place. Tala watched him from the doorway, shaken, pale, but standing. "You can't go alone," she rasped. "I ain't," Caleb said. "I'm going to get the one thing Sloat can't bully." "What?" "Witnesses." He rode hard toward Stillwater Ridge, jaw locked, anger boiling steady, not wild, controlled, focused, the kind that made a man dangerous without raising his voice. By the time he hit Main Street, people were already staring. Doors cracked open, curtains twitched, gossip moved faster than horses. Pastor Kincaid stepped outside the church, coat half-buttoned. "Caleb, what's happened?" "I need you." "For what?" Caleb didn't raise his voice. Didn't have to. "To stand next to the truth." The pastor's eyes sharpened with something fierce. "I'm ready." Next was Madame Lien. She'd heard the hoofbeats before Caleb even reached the boarding house. She marched outside with her apron still on. "You look like the devil's been chewing on you," she said. "I need the paper you keep," Caleb told her. Her face changed, just slightly. "Which one?" "The one you said you've been holding for a rainy day." Madame Lien didn't ask another question. She disappeared inside and came back with a folded sheet. Thin, worn, edges nearly crumbling. "You sure?" she asked quietly. "I'm sure." "Then let's go." They gathered Hank Tolliver next, still covered in ash from fighting the fire. "Hank," Caleb said, "I need you to tell them what you saw." "I saw cowards try to burn your barn down," Hank said, "and I'll say it loud." Eddie Ray rushed up too, breathless, hat crooked. "Mr. Booker, I saw that Rourke fella riding north fast. I heard him say something about Angel Spring." Caleb gripped the boy's shoulder. "You speak that to the sheriff?" "Yes, sir." Together, Pastor, Lean, Hank, Eddie, they walked straight down the main street toward the sheriff's office, a line cut out of stubbornness and bruised pride. Deputy Silas Boone looked up from his desk when Caleb entered. His face dropped. "Booker, what did you do?" "Not me," Caleb said. "Them." Silas swallowed. "Who's them?" "Sloat, Rourke, Chaska Noyan." Silas stood. "That's a serious accusation. That's why I brought serious people." Pastor Kincaid stepped forward first. "If you don't take this down, Deputy, you're choosing the wrong side of Christmas." Madame Lien dropped the folded sheet on Silas's desk. "This is Sloat's handwriting, and his signature. He used it to steal land before. He'll do it again." Silas stared at the paper like it was a rattlesnake. Caleb leaned in. "Deputy, you gonna read it?" Silas finally opened it. His face went pale. Sheriff Warren Clay pushed, through the door then, hat under his arm, eyes narrowed. "What's all this noise?" Silas shoved the paper into his hands like it burned. "Sheriff, you need to see this." Clay read it once, then twice. His jaw clenched. Caleb stepped forward. "Sheriff, they burned my barn. They came for the girl. They took what she was carrying. And they're headed toward Angel Spring." "You got proof?" Clay asked. "Yes," Caleb said. "A barn full of ash, boot prints, witnesses, and that." He pointed at Lien's paper. "A deed forged by Sloat to take land he had no right to." Clay took a breath long enough to mean something. "Rourke's a hired man. Hard to pin down." "Pin down the man who hired him then," Caleb said. "Drag 'em all in." Clay glanced at the townsfolk gathering outside the office windows. Rumors spread fast. But truth had a way of moving even faster when you held it up high enough. "You're making a storm here, Booker," Clay warned. "I ain't making anything," Caleb said. "They brought it to my door." Pastor Kincaid stepped forward. "Sheriff, a child of God is in danger." Sheriff Clay's shoulders slumped like a man picking up a weight he'd been dodging for too long. "Fine," he said at last. "We'll ride." Caleb's head snapped up. "When?" Clay holstered his gun. "Now." Silas grabbed his coat. "Sheriff?" Clay looked at him. "We're done looking the other way." The door swung open, sunlight pouring in behind him. Caleb turned to the small crowd forming outside. "Anybody who's got a spine and a gun, saddle up. We're going to Angel Spring." Murmurs rose. Men nodded. A few hesitated. But the shift was happening, fear bending into anger, anger into a kind of rough justice. As Caleb stepped outside, Pastor Kincaid touched his arm. "Son," he said quietly, "this won't just expose them. It'll expose you." "I know," Caleb said. "You ready for that?" Caleb looked down the road leading toward the ridge where Rourke had disappeared with Tala's future in his hands. "Ready as I'll ever be." Behind him, horses stamped, guns checked, voices lowered in prayer. Ahead, dust rose on the horizon, the kind raised by men who didn't expect to be chased. Caleb reached Angel Spring before the sheriff's posse caught up. He didn't wait for backup. He rode straight into the clearing where the rock shelf rose, where the spring whispered under the earth, where 3 horses were tied in a tight circle. Rourke stood near the water line, canteen in one hand, Tala's pouch in the other. Chaska held Tala by her arm, hard enough to bruise, not hard enough to break. "You came alone," Rourke said, almost amused. "I'm enough," Caleb said. Rourke chuckled. "For her, maybe. Not for us." Chaska pushed Tala forward. "Niece, tell him to leave." Tala didn't look at Caleb. Couldn't. "You shouldn't be here." "Neither should you," Caleb said. Rourke opened the pouch. A small piece of marked hide slid into his hand. "So this is it. The little map worth spilling half the territory's blood." Tala lunged. Chaska caught her by the hair. Caleb raised his rifle. "Let her go." "No," Chaska said simply. "She belongs to her people." "She belongs to herself," Caleb snapped. Chaska's eyes hardened. "You don't get to score her name like you own it." Rourke stepped forward, waving the spring's map. "Gentlemen, the girl doesn't matter. The water does. This place, Angel Spring, is worth more than any life here." Tala swung her elbow back, catching Chaska in the ribs. He grunted. She twisted free for half a breath. Rourke seized her by the wrist. "Easy, girl," he murmured. "You're about to decide who dies first." Caleb took one step. Rourke cocked his gun at Tala's temple. "Another inch, Booker, and she drops." Caleb froze. Rourke smirked. "Good. We're all finally being honest." Tala's breath shook. Not out of fear, out of fury. You think you can own water? I can own access, Rourke said, and men who own access own futures. Caleb's voice dropped, steady as a hammer. That map proves this spring belongs to the Noyan people, not Sloat, not you. That's one interpretation, Rourke said. But things get flexible when witnesses go missing. Chaska's jaw tensed. Rourke, enough. Rourke blinked. What, old man? You getting soft? Chaska looked at Tala, then really looked, and something in him wavered, just for a moment. She is blood, he said quietly. Blood don't matter, Rourke snapped. Land does. Caleb felt something inside him twist. Tala, look at me. She did. He nodded once. A small, steady thing. Permission. Assurance. A promise all in one. Tala inhaled, shook off Chaska's grip, and stepped forward, not away from danger, but into it. Sheriff Clay is comin', she said. With witnesses, with proof, with names. Rourke tightened his hold on her wrist. You're bluffin'. No, she whispered. I'm done running. Rourke jerked the map up, ready to rip it in half. Tala shouted, Sheriff won't need the map. I'll speak it. Out. Loud. To everyone. That changed the air. Rourke froze. Chaska's eyes widened. Caleb lowered his rifle. Just a hair. Tala lifted her chin. Angel Spring is the last clean water my people have. I'm done protecting it with silence. I'll protect it with truth. Rourke snarled. You won't say a damn thing. He grabbed her throat, and a rifle cracked behind Caleb. Sheriff Clay stepped into view with his deputies fanned out beside him. Drop her, Clay commanded. Rourke didn't. Another voice rose. Pastor Kincaid's, strong as a bell. Touch that girl again, and you'll face more than bullets. Rourke's hand twitched. Caleb moved. He lunged, slammed Rourke back into the rock, ripping Tala free. Rourke swung, Caleb ducked, drove his shoulder into Rourke's ribs, knocking the map loose. Chaska reached for it, but Tala stepped on it first. No more, she said. The spring gurgled behind her like a living heartbeat. The law stood in front of her, Caleb beside her. Rourke staggered, blood on his lip, hate in his eyes. You think this ends here? Sheriff Clay leveled his gun. It ends with you in irons. Rourke spat. Chaska looked away. The deputies forced them to their knees. Tala didn't speak again. She didn't have to. Caleb looked at her. Really looked. Soot. Blood. Bruised throat. Unbroken spirit. She met his eyes for half a second. Something soft flickering in the storm. Then she turned toward the spring, not claiming it, not hiding it. Standing in front of it like a shield that had finally chosen its ground. And Caleb knew this wasn't the climax. This was the line before the promise. The walk back from Angel Spring was quiet. Not peaceful, just quiet. The way things get after bullets decide the rest of the day. Tala rode beside Caleb on Sheriff Clay's extra horse. Hands steady, back straight, but her eyes too still, like she'd locked the world out to keep from shaking. Caleb kept glancing over, not to check on her, just to make sure she didn't disappear. Pastor Kincaid rode ahead with Madame Lienne and Hank, all of them keeping a respectful distance. No one spoke. No one dared. By the time they reached Booker Creek Ranch, the sun was low, the cold cutting sharper. Caleb dismounted first and walked to Tala's side. "Easy," he said. "I'm fine," she answered. But she wasn't. Her boots hit the ground and her knees dipped for half a heartbeat. Caleb caught her elbow. Not tight. Just enough. Tala stiffened. "I can stand." "I know," he said quietly. "Let me help anyway." She didn't pull away this time. Sheriff Clay stepped forward. "Girl," he said gently, "you'll need to give a statement tomorrow. Town needs your words." Tala nodded once. "I'll speak." "You'll be safe," Clay added. "No one is safe," she answered, same as before. But this time the words didn't sound like surrender. They sounded like truth she'd learned to live with. Clay tipped his hat. "We'll post a deputy outside till Christmas passes. Folks behave better when the Lord's watchin'." Madame Lienne snorted. "Not always." Clay allowed a thin smile. "Most times." They left one by one. Sheriff, deputy, pastor, Hank. When the last hoofbeat faded, the ranch fell into stillness. Caleb turned to Tala. "Come inside. You're cold." "I need a moment," she whispered. "You can have it inside." "No," she said, looking at the burned stall. "Here." Caleb stepped beside her. They stood shoulder to shoulder in front of the blackened beams. Smoke long gone, smell still clinging. "He did that," Tala murmured. "My uncle." "You owed him nothing," Caleb said. "That wasn't the debt," she whispered. He waited. "Angel Spring was my mother's task," Tala said. "She guarded it till the day she died. She asked me to continue." Her throat worked. "And today, I gave it away." Caleb shook his head. "No, you protected it. You brought it into light where Sloat can't twist it anymore. My people won't see it that way." "Then they're wrong." Tala's breath trembled, but she didn't let it break. "I have nowhere now." "You got somewhere," Caleb said. She turned to him slowly. "Where?" "Here." Her eyes tightened. "Caleb, if I stay, you carry my danger. I've been carrying it since you stepped onto my land. That's not fair. Fair don't matter. What's right does." Tala looked away, toward the house, the stable ruins, the mare resting in the far paddock, then back at him. "What do you want from me?" she whispered. "Nothing." She frowned. "No one wants nothing." "I do." Caleb swallowed. "You stay here, safe, fed, warm, not because I own you, not because you owe me, because you deserve ground that ain't trying to kill you." She stared at him like she was afraid to believe a single word. And what do I give you? She asked. He hesitated. Just a blink. But enough. Company, he said. Someone else brewing coffee in the morning. Someone who don't look at me like I'm half a man. Tala's breath caught. I don't look at you that way. I know, he said. That's why I want you here. Silence settled between them. Heavy, fragile, warm in a way that scared them both. Tala spoke first. If I stay, she said slowly, it's by my choice, not yours. Good, Caleb said. And if staying means I help rebuild this ranch, good. And if I leave someday, you walk out the front door, he said, with your name, your pack, your freedom, no debts left behind. She searched his face for a long moment, waiting for the catch, for the thing men always hide. There wasn't one. A small, unsteady breath slipped from her lips. Then I'll stay, she whispered. Caleb didn't smile, not fully, but something in him loosened, like a rope cut clean after too many years tied. Then let's start over, he said. How? You tell me your rules. His voice softened. And I tell you mine. She nodded, eyes bright in a way he pretended not to notice. Tomorrow, she said. Tomorrow. They stood together as the winter dusk settled around them. Not touching, not speaking, just sharing the same cold air like it meant something. In the house, Madame Lienne lit a lamp and muttered, "About time." And behind the trees at the far ridge, someone watched the ranch quietly, unseen, not enemy, not friend, a witness to something neither Caleb nor Tala had named yet. Snow fell that morning, not the cruel knife-edged kind from the night she arrived, but a quiet fall, slow, steady, like the whole land was finally breathing out after holding itself tight too long. A full year had passed since the fire, since Rourke, since Angel Spring turned from secret to salvation. The ranch carried its scars openly now. The charred beam Caleb refused to replace. The patch of earth Tala wouldn't let Hank rake over. The faint burn along the paddock rail where the flames had licked and lost. Some wounds weren't meant to vanish. Some stayed so you remembered the cost. Caleb stepped out of the house with 2 mugs in hand, boots crunching lightly on the thin snow. Tala, he called. Quiet, not commanding, not timid. Just a man calling someone who had become part of the place. She stood at the new gate, the one Caleb built slow, careful, like building a prayer with lumber. A solid A-frame, dark oak, iron hinges. Her fingers traced the carved letters, BCR, Booker Creek Ranch, and beneath it, in smaller hand-carved lines, her idea, Angel Water, protected, shared. Caleb held out 1 mug. Steam curled upward. You didn't have to make 2, she said. I know, he answered, but it's colder drinking alone. She took it, hands brushing his for half a breath. Enough to notice, not enough to name. They drank in silence for a moment. Across the yard, The mare Tala saved grazed slow, winter coat thick, healthy enough to bully younger horses away from the hay. Hank patched a fence rail nearby, muttering about lousy nails that Madame Lien kept insisting were fine. Lien herself was inside, banging pots around, her way of saying she cared more than she wanted anyone to know. Pastor Kincaid would come later with his traveling Bible and the raisin bread Tala pretended not to like and always finished. Stillwater Ridge had changed too. Not all the way, not magically, but enough. People no longer whispered when Tala walked into town. They didn't stare when she stood beside Caleb. Fear had thinned like frost in sunlight. Folk still judged, still gossiped. This was the West, not heaven. But they looked them in the eye now. Respect wasn't loud. It was in the way people stopped pretending not to see them. Caleb leaned against the gatepost. "Sleep any?" he asked. "A little." "Dream any?" "A little." He nodded. He didn't push. He'd learned that patience wasn't silence. It was care in slow form. Tala took another sip, breath fogging the air. "Caleb, did we do the right thing last year?" "You asking that now?" "I'm asking now." He looked at her. "You told the truth. The law backed it. Folks saw it. Sloat's gone. Rourke's in Yuma. Your uncle." He let the words fade. "He made his choice," Tala murmured. "And you made yours." Tala's fingers tightened on the mug. "I don't regret staying." "Good." "But I wonder what I brought here," she said softly. "Danger, fire, blood, trouble that wasn't yours." Caleb shook his head. "What you brought here saved this place." "That wasn't guaranteed." "Neither's breath," Caleb answered. "But we take it anyway." Tala looked at him then, really looked, eyes soft but wary. "1 year," she whispered. "You sure you wanted me here? All of it, not just the useful parts." He set his mug down on the gate. "Tala, there weren't parts." She blinked, throat tightening. "You came with trouble," he said. "You came with strength, too. You came with scars. I got my own. They don't cancel each other out. They make the load even." Tala looked down at the snow at her feet. "People like me, we don't get to stay places. You're staying here. Until when? Till you say otherwise." Her breath shook, small but real. Caleb stepped closer, not touching, just closing the space. "You carved your name into this gate." "I carved the words," she corrected. "Names are heavier." "You carved them anyway." Tala swallowed. "Because this ranch needed truth." "It needed you," Caleb said. She closed her eyes for a moment. Not dramatic, not overwhelmed. Just someone who needed 1 second to steady herself. Then, softly, "You talk like Pastor Kincaid." He rubbed off. "Good," she whispered. "He rubs off on the stubborn ones." Caleb almost smiled. Almost. They walked the fence line together, mugs warm in their hands. Tala stopped at the rebuilt stall, touching a beam Caleb had sanded, but intentionally left scarred. "Why not finish it smooth?" she asked. "Wouldn't feel honest," he said. She nodded. "My mother would have liked that." "She would have liked you still standin'," Caleb said. Tala's voice dropped. "Sometimes I think she sees me here. Sometimes I think she doesn't." "God sees you," Caleb said quietly, "Christmas or not." Tala let the silence carry the weight of that. "Do you pray?" she asked. "Sometimes," he said. "You?" "Sometimes." Caleb considered that. "Then maybe that's enough." They headed back toward the house. Snow thickened. Footsteps muffled. The world looked like someone was trying to make it clean again, even if it didn't deserve it. At the door, Tala paused. "Caleb." "Yeah?" "You didn't know what you were taking in last Christmas." "I know now." "And you don't regret it?" He looked at her, not at her face, not at her scars, but at her eyes. The steady ones. The ones that had learned not to run. "No," he said. "Not a damn second." Her breath hitched. Barely. Inside, Madame Leon shouted, "If you two don't come eat, I'm feedin' the stew to the dog." "You don't have a dog," Caleb called. "I'll find one," Leon yelled back. Tala laughed. Quiet, warm, like a sound she didn't trust yet, but didn't fear anymore. They stepped into the house. Warmth wrapped them. Light, too. Not bright. Just enough. Caleb shut the door against the cold. Outside, the new gate creaked gently, settling into the winter wind. Not closing, just belonging. And up the ridge, where snow softened every edge, a lone rider watched for a while, then nodded once as if satisfied that two lost souls had finally found a place they didn't have to run from, and rode on. And so, when the last light of that Christmas evening settled over Booker Creek Ranch, it felt as though the land itself had paused to breathe. Tala stood by the gate she carved with her own hands, and Caleb watched her the way a tired man watches dawn, quiet, grateful, still a little unsure he deserves it. The storms behind them hadn't vanished, and the scars on the ranch hadn't faded. But the two of them, they stood a little straighter now, a little steadier. Like folks who finally learned that peace doesn't come all at once. It comes slow, like winter sunlight easing across an open field. Maybe that's why this story stays with people. Not because of the danger, not because of the gunfire, but because two souls who had every reason to give up didn't. If you've traveled this far with them, thank you. Stories like this mean a little more when shared with folks who understand life's long roads and hard winters. Before you go, I'd love to hear from you. Tell me where you're watching from. And if this tale touched you, even a little, please like the video, subscribe, and stay with us for the next Western tale. The trail continues.